thing is moving up and down.
Say again whether it's actually something or not.
Yeah, and the microphone is on. So from our perspective, everything is now working.
Yeah.
Can you say that there's a new broadcast started now? And, you can test it.
No, it's white, so it's not TikTok. If you go to TikTok,
Yep.
I think
Is it possible that we can?
they say it's muted, but I don't think that's the setting.
No, it's not muted.
No, it's not muted because
This. Now it's not. And green dots signify that at least the computer here is getting volume.
So somebody has his phone now checking it or not?
I can.
Okay, which broadcast is this?
This is the latest one.
Do you think the sound problem is the sound because Menta can try?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
But he needs the address for the live stream.
Yeah.
Okay, so to you.
You should check in the email.
Okay.
You have everybody. I have requested Italy. I tried to read.
Okay, it works. Sound works.
Okay, no problem. I'm not watching the
Yes,
There's a little
Some like
delay.
20 seconds.
I think so. Hey, you said this. I can prove.
Just wait 10 seconds.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Pick it up. How does it work?
Can you share your screen? Will you share your screen? Because now they can see the screen, eh?
Yeah, of course we change it. But Rauli will do it because it's his computer and he knows how it works.
Really cool.
Yeah, the basic numbers.
Yes, I said. You're live.
Yeah.
And there is thing, of course, about that stuff being displayed in a mirror
Yeah.
for yourselves.
This is
The
this
text on the
is
screen is not readable for us. No, did it show that picture? Or did it show it mirrored?
I think it should be mirrored, like right.
Because usually for yourself it's shown mirrored, but when you want
Whether
to
there are
I can't find the actual latest ongoing broadcast link on the channel page.
Menta has it.
yeah, but I think
Sorry,
he
but
looked in
so
YouTube or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked in YouTube. So
Okay.
there's no.
And the sound is working.
outstanding.
Sound is working. Good. Yeah, I'm just very quickly going to.
No, it's actually readable.
Yeah,
It's good.
I mean you can see text and the text is not.
Yes.
Can you see us live now?
Yeah, but you want to put the. Yeah, you want to put
And it's
the.
IQ,
Yes,
so
good.
and the way
Yeah.
it is displayed here,
Yes,
it's
it's
good. So whatever approaches here can be read.
Yes, okay, it should be like. Yeah.
No, ne slaiditkin voi ladata tuohon ihan sivustolle, että ne voi ladata siitä.
Yeah.
Se tapahtuu tuon median kautta.
So this is the. Okay, this is the.
Joo, se linkki pitää tehdä erikseen, jos haluaa siitäkin katsomaan.
Will you put the link on the thread as well, activity thread?
Somebody else can do that. We just don't have the time and focus right now to update anything else except the presentations page here. So this is the kind of master place now for all the updates. Okay, I failed with that one. I can make it clickable like this. Yeah, and update. The Hangout is still looking good. Yeah.
It's varmaan presistä alkuun.
Yeah, you know the famous.
Hey,
Off you go,
but it not show sedän tuolla taas. Eikö nyt se näkyy? Okei, se vaan vähän ottaa aikaa. Odotellaan hetki.
Näköjään säätelee hetken.
Mä ottelen hetki, että se.
Nyt se on se seuraava. Joo.
Sä voit toimia teknisenä tukena.
Joo, mä jatkan tästä.
Okay, are we about to start now? Yeah?
Yes,
Yes.
you're actually already live.
Okay, it should be like that. Now it's getting more serious.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. This first presentation is like introduction to other presentations that will come today later. And the first presentation is how to improve your planet's skills.
Finally.
Soon you will be better players. First of all, welcome to Planets Camp Finland. I hope you have enjoyed until this point. And this lesson is an introduction. Introduction to the following more specific lessons from our best subspecialists in given categories. In the introduction, I want to share you some universal thoughts about improving skills in planets when playing seriously for a win. And not much details included because there exist subspecialists that can aid you better, and details are actually not so important. Get the main things and you will definitely learn the details. Remember, planets don't have to be serious for everyone. Actually, I usually wish it would be more relaxed, but the truth is we search things that make us feel most, good or bad. Things that make you most happy will also hurt you most. Sometimes it's planets. In this presentation, we talk about serious planets. And then we are getting started. First, I want to tell you two most important attributes you can recognize a winning player from, or at least a player who has potential to be one someday. The one and only thing that really matters is will to win. Without ambition to win, it's impossible to be a master. Another thing that is often needed is strength of will. We Finns call it sisu. Is that somehow natural to us Finns? A couple of years ago, there were a sauna contest that ended after a finalist, a Russian who got the silver medal. He died in the sauna. And the winner, the Finnish one, was in the hospital intensive care unit about 5 months or something. He burned very badly, but he won. Will to win, why is that important? If man really wants something, he will find a way. If will is strong enough, this will sometimes be nearly automatic. And without will, everything is futile. You perform bad game after game. Okay, you have will. What next? Most crucial point has already been crossed. You are not just playing around, you are ready for a serious game. Lesson from working life: in competitive environment, when you want and need to make excellent work in situations you are not allowed to fail, you need to improve and learn all the time. You always need to analyze your previous doings critically. Most crucial point is when you finally fail. That is where you can learn most. If you don't, end is near. Absolutely, same works in planets. In my opinion, the best way to improve your skills in planets is to critically analyze your previous games. How to do that, and what should you analyze and how? Critical analysis of your games. Analyzing your own game is always more important than going through some other player games. There are many reasons for that, but the main thing is that when you analyze your own games, you know what you were doing and you can think how did it go. Other players' games, you actually don't know what this guy has been doing, and you don't know his thoughts. First, make a summary of your completed games. Why did you win? If that is the case, okay. Okay.
Okay.
You need more now?
Good.
Now it's better.
Not yet, but let's hope.
Okay.
Open that curtain as well.
Yeah.
No.
You want to see the beautiful man, or?
Yeah, I think you have to stand where the chair is.
Okay, that's more. Okay, yeah.
If we need more light, the thing we put the webcam on is an actual light.
Like, yeah.
I might just be looking.
I think it's okay now.
Should be okay.
still can't see you on the.
We are wait 20 screen.
Can I see you? How?
There's a darkness.
You're not there.
Complete dark.
You're a force of darkness.
But you're not standing, because when we did the test, you were sitting in the chair and we could see you fine. Now you're standing here.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit. Let me see how it looks like.
No, but if you move the chair.
Okay. Let's have a little pause.
Yeah, it's like very dark
Yeah.
on this screen. Can we switch a little bit more light on from this one?
Hang on, yeah, move this one round.
I don't think it's connected.
It's not
Oh.
on yet. It's not.
But
Okay.
it changes. Like, can you see? Not sure if it's okay or not.
I don't think my stream is updating like properly. Okay. You might then just be invisible.
Yeah. I have a cloaking device.
Okay. How can we get this one back to your presentation?
Okay.
Extension lead, we can plug this in then.
Yeah, let's put this one here.
This is like this door.
Okay, some technical problems. We are continuing soon.
Main presenter being closed.
Mä luulen, että hän olisi ollut hirmu hyvä, kun olisi hakenut sen otsalampun tuolta ja pistänyt sen tököttään tuohon esittäjään. Onkohan tää nyt hyvä idea? Mä en oikein tiedä. Haluaako kukaan nähdä esittäjää?
Haluaa. Noniin.
No, mutta sitten kamerat kääntyi ihan totaalisesti äsken. Nyt ei näy mitään.
Is the camera now okay or not?
Nope. Not okay, but
I still have cloaking device, but
less cloak.
Yeah, apparently Whisperer wants to see.
but now we can.
Okay, much better. Much better.
Yeah.
You know, he is a beautiful Cylon.
Now we can see anything from the slides because of the contrast. I think it's more important to see the slides than here.
Think so?
Yeah,
Let's see. I'll remove this.
But you should move picture because it.
Which one?
I think now it's the best we can achieve.
Yeah. Okay, this is the best we can do.
Because there is a so big contrast between. Okay, then we continue after a small pause. Okay, first make a summary of your completed games. Why did you win, if that is the case? And more importantly, why did you not win? Rule number one is be honest to yourself. When you lost, most likely you did not only have bad luck. When you won, you most likely had also some good luck. Find your Achilles heel and try to fix that. Admitting that you did something wrong or that you are not good at something is harder than trying to find excuses. One extra note, to get a better Planets player, you also need to lose games. If you don't, find stronger opponents. Killing kittens do not prepare you against a lion. A will to win is what drives you, so if you always win, you are satisfied and don't need to improve your skills until you recognize someone has drove past you. So everyone should get beaten sometimes, meaner the better. 5 main factors to analyze. The first one always is economy, especially the early economy. This is the base you are building everything at, and because of that, maybe the most important part of the game. Also, this part can be improved most easily. 2, diplomacy. With a good diplomacy alone, you rarely win, but with bad diplomacy, you will definitely lose. Strategy. In competitive game, you need to have one to win. 4, tactics. There are numerous tactics you want to learn, improve, and even invent. They aid you to win, but alone they are nothing but tricks. 5, the mental things. As I said earlier, this is actually the most important part. You need to have will to win and strength of will. But there are also some other mental things you should keep in mind and also analyze. Remember that even total superiority in one category won't give you a win in competitive game. You always need all of them. Most important is to find out what is your weak spot. First, economy, especially early economy, is always the first part you should analyze. This is the base you're building all other parts at. This is the part least influenced by other players, so easiest to analyze. Analyzing this part will tell you if you actually were playing for the win or not. If early economy is failed badly, there usually is zero chance you can compete for the win, even you do every other aspect superior to other players. A best way to compare your economy to other is to check your fleet and bases and priority points at turn 28 to 30. At competitive games, turn 30 is usually a couple of turns after the ship limit and will tell a lot. I think 2 turns after ship limit is actually better than the limit. I will tell you more later. Also, when analyzing other player games, this will tell you 95% of times if a player is just playing around or is seriously playing for the win. I know some people could say fleet, it's not so important. With good diplomacy, you can still win. Yes, of course, that's true. But if you have a good fleet and also do other aspects well, you will definitely win. And good economy will never take anything from these other categories, but failed early economy will put you immediately competing for the worst positions. That's about economy for now. Within 2 hours, you will hear more about that. Stay tuned. 2, diplomacy. Diplomacy is part you should always analyze with strategy. They go side by side always. That is why analyzing them is not easy. Not going to present a lot because actually this has been one of my Achilles heels lately. Our diplomatic specialists would laugh at my ogre level skills. They were just good enough to win Lone Wolf 3 though. After the introduction, there will be a more specific diplomacy presentation from SMN Rauli, one of the greatest diplomatics of community. But why is diplomacy so important? That is clear. Even if you have superior fleet, you cannot win against 10 opponents. Oh, in beginners games, you actually can. Diplomacy is the part of the game where you can totally ruin your well-started game. I know this very well. One basic rule is examine the players before the game starts. Who can play at competitive level and who cannot. Do not trust the leaderboard. Check at least the fleets at turn 30 and final positions. The better the player. Second rule is make diplomacy. Contact the players. Most common bad diplomacy is no diplomacy at all or too less diplomacy. At least when you know the player positions, choose who to attack and who to make friends. Make sure you won't be attacked by both of your neighbors in the beginning. Try to find out who are the players that will compete for the win. Usually this can be seen around turn 30. After that, think who you can make strong bonds with so that you don't need to betray them when the game develops. This is difficult part. One note, possibly the players that are no more competing for the win, you can make deeper bonds with these guys. After you have some friends, directions to attack, and your back is safe, start thinking how to win the game. At this point, remember the rule of risk, the strategy game. I don't know if all know the game, but most will. The strongest will be punished. That seems to be also golden rule of planets. Usually the first winner candidate will be gangbanged to death. Or usually the first strong alliance will cause counter-reaction that leads to forming a stronger alliance opposing the first. The main difference between risk and planets is that risk punishing the strongest phenomenon will continue forever and game never ends actually. But in planets that will hold only for the first or sometimes the second winner candidate. Why? Actually, Emorg has said this before, but I will tell you again. After the first winner candidate or alliance has been gangbanged to death, game has probably lasted a year or more. After that long time, the bonds between other players are too strong to break. Also, there exists frustration and exhaustion that makes most players happy with positions 2, 3, and 4. So that's why they let the second or third winner candidate to win. Because of this, in competitive games, you should not form too frightening alliance in the beginning or should keep it secret. That is the part I did not learn with my first heal. Diplomacy, how to analyze. If you win the game, your diplomacy has been good enough, or at least your opponent's diplomacy has been even worse. Check what you did right. Check why your opponents did not squeeze you to death together when they saw your victory coming. This is important to check. If you lost the game, analyze what you did wrong. First, in my opinion, the important one, remember, check if you actually were playing for the win at turn 30, or were you just playing around for bronze or silver? Did you lose because of diplomatic acts? Did you use enough diplomacy at all? Did you ally the right player, race combinations? Did you make too strong ally in the beginning that caused counter reaction and woke up a bear? Bear? Bear. Did you keep your promise, or did you make someone angry that cost you a game? Did you make trades that were beneficial to both, but in the long run more beneficial to your opponent? This is note from SM and Rowley. We talked about this presentation. Trade deals usually always increase your absolute power, but what about relative power shifts on the grand scale? A seemingly losing deal with your neighbor giving you freedom to cross the other neighbor can easily be a game-winning deal. That's very important. You need to think what the consequences of your trades. Were you paranoid and made enemies out of your friends, causing your own defeat? There are some things to analyze. Diplomacy is difficult part. There is more to come today, and I must listen to that presentation carefully. 3, strategy. Not going to present a lot because this part is most complicated and depends so much about the situation in the cluster. Explaining even the basics would take a day, I think. But at least you need to have one, and you must be able to change it if needed. Like for diplomacy, first analyze the players and races. Which of them you can kill easily and which are the most dangerous for you. Always analyze the players and races as combinations. Choosing friends or foes only based on a race will lead to disaster. Old wisdom, ally a player, not a race. When positions start to be clear, draw a map where you put players and races. Think who will kill who and what the map will look then. Update the map after ship limit with the information you have from the scores, especially about the fleets. Who is playing for the win and who is not, who will be killed soon, and like that. Usually this clears your thoughts how to develop your strategy toward the end game. More competitive players around, more difficult to see the future. When you choose your friends and foes, do not forget the end game. That should actually be deciding factor when you make long-term contracts and allies. Do not fight in many fronts in the beginning. Kill easy prey near without mercy and conquer their lands fast. Kill also the most dangerous soon or ally them. If not possible, try to make some deals that someone actually hampers this most dangerous guy. Try to do this kind of things. And when making trades, try to make trades that are good for both, but maybe better for you and in the long run. When choosing strategy, look around the corner, think what consequences your decisions will possibly have in the long run. After the game, analyze what was your initial strategy and did it work? Was it bad strategy in the beginning or did you execute it wrong? Did you change it when needed? Was there other possibilities? Analyze after the game is again the most important. 4, tactics. There are actually tactics and tricks. Tactics are things like expanding the borders fast, fleet positioning, minefield control. And tricks are things like using low crew torpedo to bring down shield of a carrier or setting MFX friendly code for a planet enemy is going to conquer soon or something like that. I'm not going to details, but there exist some actually numerous universally good tactics that works in many games, also in planets. I will show you some of them. First, expanding the borders fast. The first player taking the area in many games owns it. Second player need a violent act to claim it. That is bad for diplomatical and also strategical. So be the first player to take a planet. Also, further your borders are, more time you have to react when the big bad enemies arrive. Local overpower and military control. There are numerous situations when you have less overall military than your opponent, but when you can concentrate your forces to one strategic spot and then possibly get local military superiority. Local military superiority is most important. Carrier other side of the map don't count. This will often buy you a win in that battle and maybe big enough to turn the tide. Taking calculated risks, at least when playing against an opponent who is better than you or at the same level, you cannot win without taking risk. If you avoid all the risks, the opponent will win. Being aggressive, usually when two possible moves are being compared, more aggressive is better. Your opponent needs to react, and also under pressure, people make mistakes. This is good advice, I think. Thinking what would be your opponent's best move in a given situation and with given information he has, and then react accordingly. When doing this, the common mistake when planning the move is to forget that your opponent usually don't have all the information that you have, and you have to think what he can know and what is his best move would be the best move with his given information he has, and then react. There are also many planet tricks that I would like to share with you. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go through hundreds of them, but there exists one you should always be aware of that can affect the game most, and that is again the queue control. Yes, that is actually only trick you can greatly alter the firepower balance after the ship limit has been reached. If not counting big battles, and actually the big battles do not alter military balance so much, usually because when two good players will go to the battle, they will change carriers 1-to-1 or something like that, so and get the priority point. So the military balance is not altering so much, but of course this both fighting parts will go down with the military and the others will go up. But I think the queue control is the trick you can alter the balance. And in standard game also this is, as I experienced in my last game. The most devastating single action I have ever encountered in Planets was not controlling the queue, but more like owning the queue. At Green Planet Sector, with this move was by Joshua. With well-planned, concentrated recycle and other maneuvers, my enemies suddenly built over 20 heavy carriers and got over 150 priority points in one turn. I built one carrier and got 14 priority points. That single turn action by Joshua, I think that was Joshua, and I talked with him. Maybe there was also Otrim and Ted who were influencing this act, but I think Joshua was the main director. This act altered the game balance permanently and surely would have won the Turn of the Year award, but because the game is going on, it will possibly win it next year. Here you can the scores. This is, I think this is, yes, this is Rebel score, Joshua, and this is the Colony score. And they are all heavy carriers and massive amount of priority points they got in one turn. I won't explain the whole thing because the game is going on, but this was devastating action. Standard, new, yeah, new queue, yeah. They recycled simultaneously all their small ships and built massive amount of carriers. But that can be seen, yeah, a lot of bases, like 100 bases in Rebels, but they really knew what they were doing because I lost the game at that point. To analyze the tactics, examine your games and find the tactics and tricks that has been used against you. Find the maneuvers that hurted you most. Sad but true, usually the most efficient way to learn new tactics is to be first victim of them. Also try to invent new tactics by yourself. They do not always work. When they work, usually someone has invented them before you. But when you do the brain work, you can invent also something new. Talk about your thoughts with your planet's mates. If you have one, we are rare. use the forums. There still exist numerous tactics and tricks that have not been invented yet. Actually, one of the best things of this brilliant game. I personally invented some nasty low crew tricks in Lone Wolf 3, but they are just waiting in my brains to be used in future. The game ended before I really got to use them fully. Then, the last part, the mental things. Mental things influence everything you do in life, also planets. Usually when you are in better mood, you perform better. Anger can help you some rare situation, maybe in a street fight, but in the planets it leads to stupid decisions and mistakes. A joy is a good feeling that comes when you perform well. It can cause good flow that makes you perform better and better, turn after turn, until you win the game. It can also make you less careful, that can cause mistakes which can change joy to frustration very soon. Fear and paranoia are sometimes good for your game. You need to have them not to let your defenses down, but they can also cause problems. Possibly they can make you to avoid all the risk. That is not good for your game. Make calculated decisions. Do not let the paranoia to stop you. Don't think there. Don't always think the worst.
Also, it leads to the dark side.
Yeah. Paranoia can also cause catastrophic diplomatic mistakes. Brotherhood is something that keeps alliances alive, and one important point is owing something to someone affects the game a lot. When you owe something, it's very difficult decision not to pay back. The most important game affecting mental thing is frustration, whatever the cause. This is the reason why strength of will is one of the main attributes of the winning player. Frustration can make people even drop. Usually players get frustrated when he starts to lose. Some of us easier than the others. Some reasons are realizing you can't win anymore. I think this is the only acceptable one. Some diplomatic acts that leaves you to the losing side, not necessarily permanently though. Stupid mistake that causes some losses, losing a big battle, even losing a small battle, especially after long trench warfare. When frustrated, majority of players starts to make stupid decisions, use less effort for playing, start to play worse, more frustration, and finally defeat. Rule number 1, when frustrated, take a long breath and think situation after a couple of days again. Do not make important decisions after a bad turn. Rule number 2, try to make your enemies frustrated and know when they are. Then to analyze, you should analyze your own mental habits, skills, and weaknesses. Are you a player that plays better when you are winning, or are a player who will strengthen play when facing defeats? Do you make most mistakes after a good turn or a bad turn? There is difference between players. What things get you frustrated? Try to get rid of them. Frustration must be healed immediately, or it will dig deeper until you are at the grave. When you make a bad mistake, can you think clear, or do you try to take it back immediately, making disaster moves? Are some of your decisions affected by fear or paranoia? Analyze also what type of a player you are. Usually many of your decisions are affected by your player type. Know it, and you can possibly control your decisions. One example, for example, I am a player in many games who likes to ally soon and keep those allies. I want to go bravely side by side to victory or defeat. I don't like hanging around whole game as a Mr. Nice Guy. That just not suit me. Also, I seem like to challenge myself, somehow stupid, which usually leads attacking the meanest dragon. Even that can be totally stupid in given situation. I have learned that my player type affects my games and actually has made me to do catastrophic diplomatic failures. I did not fully recognize this before my last game, and actually not before I made this presentation. But I know it now and will use this information in my future games.
Good luck.
And then the last slide, do not forget your other life. It can really affect the outcome of your games. Think how much you have time for planets. Do not play too many games or you will surely be frustrated. Then think some things with wife. First, she will ask you if you are watching porn in the night. Then she will ask if you have another woman you are chatting with. But finally, he understands that this pathetic man really only builds imaginary starships late in the night and dreams about being an emperor one day. And some pictures. Building the first Darkling here. Oh, hey, I just checked that none of my cloakers above bases have encoded code. Then, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Then we can continue with the next ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Conclusion, don't get away.
That's the easiest. Yeah.
yeah, for the audience listening to this, we'll now take approximately 5 to 10 minutes of technical break. We'll upload the presentation slides to the PlanetCon 2017 net site, and as soon as we get the next event up, we'll post the next link for that event on the very same website. It's going to take something like 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes that we get actually started with the second one.
What about discussion? Discussion.
Where?
No.
Oh,
It's
right.
not the presentation.
Yeah, do we want to share that?
I don't know.
Should we just make mental notes and discuss things later in the evening?
No, yeah, and we can discuss them now because I need to hassle technical.
Okay.
Yes, and I think this first presentation has so many things that this is an introduction. Maybe we can discuss more after next presentation.